Chiefs BJ Thompson, awake alert after cardiac arrest. So I was looking at the story earlier, and when we talk about these kind of situations, and when we hear about these kind of situations, it's kind of like a okay, well, we have an idea of what could that potentially be from, or how that this situation is probably going to play out. But I think the reality is this: we've kind of lost. I think we've kind of lost the compassion. I think we've kind of lost the ability to understand as far as what someone is going through um, in these kind of situations. We'll get into the story, and then we'll chop it up.
Second-year defensive end BJ Thompson was in stable condition this morning at an area hospital in Kansas City after having a seizure and going into cardiac arrest during a special teams meeting yesterday at Chiefs OTAs. The team canceled the day's practice after Thompson was taken to the hospital. So we bring in our NFL reporter, Jeremy Fowler. And Jeremy, we understand there is new information on Thompson. What more can you tell us?
Yes, Matt, I just spoke with Thompson's agent, Chris Turnage, who told me that Thompson is awake and responsive in the hospital. That is good news. Last night, he was still unconscious, but the doctors told Turnage they were optimistic, and that optimism is now coming to fruition. Chiefs players and coaches very happy. The things I heard about this player were great dude, great teammate, hard worker. So certainly there's a relief and sigh in the Chiefs building after what sources described as traumatizing yesterday.
So, I mean, yeah, you have this situation where, a player goes down or a player has this kind of a medical event. And the real issue isn't the fact of what we think it is or the political side of things. I think the real issue is them moving forward and how people are going to scrutinize them and how everyone's going to handle this situation in regards to, their livelihood and their career and what they're trying to do. And it's crazy because shout out to you, Tactical. It's crazy because we see this happen in individuals across various different sports. It's not just football, it's not just basketball, it's almost every sport. And a lot of the, young athletes, they're in tip-top shape, they're superior athletes, they're what you would think to be at, their peak level. And so, for something like this to happen, it really makes you question, okay, well, what's going on? What kind of research is being done? And then obviously, if there is any kind of research being done, what is happening to remedy these kind of situations? So we'll get into this story and then we'll keep going. Says Kansas City Chiefs Vice President Rick Burholder gave a positive update on BJ Thompson, saying the defensive end is alert, awake, and coming through quite well, and is headed in the absolute right direction. Thompson, 25, suffered seizures and went into cardiac arrest Thursday while in a special teams meeting at the Chiefs practice facility. Burkholder, Kansas City's Vice President of Sports Medicine and Performance, said kicker Harrison Butker left the meeting to alert the team's medical personnel on Thompson's situation. He said Thompson was initially treated by athletic trainers and team doctor until fire department personnel arrived. Now, this is all great, right? You have someone there who obviously could go out and get you help. But what about all the other people who may not have someone around that this happens to? Right? What about the kid who is out there in the gym by themselves shooting around, or the kids out there just, working on their throwing and on the field or running down the field and working on their training and nobody's really out there, or know what's going on. Um, we hear about these certain stories about these individuals who have all these people around them, but I think the real highlight to even further look into is, how many of these situations happens when no one was there to help, and how many people have died because of that. As we keep it going. Thompson was in cardiac arrest for a minute to a minute and a half, Burkholder said, before he was transported to a local hospital. He said Thompson was sedated Thursday and through the night and was on a ventilator overnight to help with breathing. Thompson regained consciousness Friday and was removed from the ventilator. We don't have a diagnosis, Burkholder said, and in medicine, sometimes you don't have that. The Chiefs held a team meeting before Friday's practice to update players on Thompson's progress. If it had to happen, no better place than right here where you'd have the support that knows what to do, Coach Andy Reid said. So yeah, this is tough. It's very tough for multiple reasons. You know, obviously, first and foremost, you want him to be okay, right? So thoughts and prayers to him and his family. Shout out to you, Tactical. And then secondly, it's the figuring out, how this happened, and then third, how to fix it so it doesn't happen again. Because you don't want a situation where you have a player who's already had something like this happen to end up on the field during live TV mid-game, and we have another DeMar Hamlin situation. A lot of people didn't react well to that for obvious reasons. And for it to happen again, that's going to clearly show that something is obviously wrong. And there it's I think it's a lot deeper than just the whole political discussion of it. I think it's something that is going to have to be looked at in the realm of how to remedy this situation, because we're seeing it time and time again, and I think that's the most important part. Tactical says, I think it shocks us when these young athletes have these medical issues because they're in such great shape. Yeah, and I mean, I will say this, right? We know it's not a opinion, it's not a hearsay. We know that there have been individuals who have played in sports over the years before what happened 4 years ago that have passed away or died because of different various medical things that had been in their body before anybody knew. So I think it's more so, obviously, if you add something in the mix in regards to people who may have, um, things that are abnormal in their body, abnormalities, um, then that'll basically create these kind of scenarios more and more. And that's why I kind of say I think it's more so researching and figuring out what needs to happen so that these kind of situations can happen. I don't know if you're going to need more checkups. I don't know if they're going to need more testing. I'm not sure, but something is going to happen, and someone's going to have to come up with some kind of uh, solution in the medical world, because we're hearing about this a lot more. And it's not only affecting the players, which is the most important, right? It's more important for the person that's happening to. But it's affecting the people as well, because think about it as a family member, right? You don't want your whatever, your brother, uncle, husband, whatever, out there in the field and they just collapse. As a family, you're sitting there watching the game, right? The wife's watching the game, the kids are watching the game, the parents are watching the game, the family's there, and you expect to see the normal game, and you're excited. They go out there, and then the player just collapses on the ground. That's scary stuff. Scary stuff. So yeah, like I said, I think at the end of the day, there's got to be some kind of solution created, and that's just the bottom line.